It's been argued that we live in a formula-feeding society and that women haven't been given proper education about the benefits of breastfeeding. But at least in certain socioeconomic groups, it seems the lack of information is hardly the problem. In fact, a lot of us have experienced massive amounts of pressure, even scare tactics, making the concept of failure a really daunting prospect.
It was one of those things I just always figured I would do. And then I took a breastfeeding class when I was about 30 weeks pregnant, and they scared the crap out of me. And so then it wasn't just like, yeah, I'm gonna breastfeed, because that's what you do. It was more like, oh my God, I have to breastfeed or my baby's gonna die and be dumb, and lots of other things, because the whole first hour was basically just her telling us all of these, you know, IQs and allergies and SIDS and everything. And then she got into the logistics of it. I was armed with the, you know, no, you can't have a pacifier in the hospital because it's nipple confusion, and no, you know, no formula because it's gonna mess everything up. And so I was and I became, from the last, like, you know, 10 weeks of my pregnancy, I became very sort of militant in my, you know, I was going to breastfeed, and hey, that person's not breastfeeding, what's wrong with them? They obviously didn't take this class that I took, you know. I sort of got kind of obnoxious about it until I had her.
I have a girlfriend that had a baby, and her baby was extraordinarily premature, and her sister-in-law is a huge breastfeeding advocate, and she sent her this article about the benefits of breastfeeding versus formula feeding, and how formula feeding can actually cause lower test scores, allergies, asthma. It can cause your child to have digestive problems. I mean, just a whole list of crazy things that I kind of thought to myself, it's like propaganda.
I didn't feel guilty until I was told I should.
And who told you should?
The media and the internet, and anyone that was in any sort of like online group, blogs, anything like that. And suddenly I was horrible. I gave up too easily. So I didn't feel guilty until suddenly I realized that they told me I should be feeling guilty.
It wasn't until after I had Isabel, then I felt like, oh, then I was like more, not necessarily judgmental, but I noticed it more, and I felt like, oh gosh, I'm not good enough because I can't produce this milk. And, but then I saw you know, here I am shaking my formula at Mommy and Me class, and everyone just pulls it out and just like, you know, so like, oh, it's so nice and easy, so it looked like, and here I am shaking my bottle for Isabel. And I think those are the only times where I felt like I was in the minority or just like different.
Well, they tell me, I hear that in the middle of the country that people use bottles regularly, and that's just sort of still like the norm. But here it's not like that at all. It seems like everybody's breastfeeding, and it's assumed that you're breastfeeding.
I hear a lot of people say like that they live in areas where everyone breastfeeds and they get a lot of, you know, flack for formula feeding. And where I live, it's sort of the opposite. You just sort of like, there's bottles everywhere, and it's almost weird to see someone breastfeeding. And I don't know a lot of people who did. So I was sort of the same boat where I took the class, I read, but no one was there to say like, oh no, this is okay and this is normal and you should try this, and because I didn't really know that many people who did it.
I did feel like everybody's breastfeeding, everybody's doing it, and I felt like it was easy for them, the way that, you know, just, okay, baby's hungry. And I never had that success. It was always difficult to get a latch. It was difficult to get a full baby.
My mother-in-law also told me, oh, it's easy. It was easy for me. She didn't understand, like, oh, maybe your nipple's too big, you know? And I just thought, well, oh gosh, so I felt like stress from, you know, from people. And so, and I was just the own pressure on myself. I felt really stressed out.
I felt bad at times. I felt bad, like, you know, for using formula. And I don't want to say it's La Leche's fault, you know, but, you know, I did feel that pressure, like, you know, oh, what's, you know, best for your baby, that, you know, the breast milk is best for your baby. And so, yeah, I felt that it was just within my own, from the readings that I read in, like, you know, from just certain mom groups, you know, who were experienced and had grown kids, you know, and really advocated breastfeeding.
I thought, well, okay, at least when I'm out, I'll supplement with formula, because it's not always an option to pump and have the milk chilled and while you're out. And I'm a very like on the go kind of person. I don't like to stay at home. And it took a really long time to be able to make that decision, which didn't end up working anyway. But because I felt like, well, am I truly a nursing mother if I give her formula when I'm out? And when people see me, they're going to think that I'm a formula feeding mom, and what are they going to think? You know what I mean? And even, which is silly because like I said, nobody would have even batted an eye where I live, but I did feel like that guilt, and I felt like I was giving up or I was caving. I had a friend, someone I didn't know very well, but she was nursing her 15-month-old, and I thought, well, why would you do that? You only have to do it for 12 months, so why would you keep doing that? That's creepy, that's weird. Well, now Charlotte's 15 months and I'm still nursing her to sleep every night. And the people that I was judging for having the bottles propped up, you better believe I tried that. When I was trying my formula things, I was like, oh, here, I don't even have to hold it. If I just roll this towel and put it under you. So, I think that we all think things. I know I'm sounding like a horrible person. I hope I'm not alone. But I think that we all have perceptions of, there's the formula feeding moms, and clearly they're selfish, mothers. But then there's the breastfeeding mothers, and they're all like hippies who are willing to just whip it out anywhere. And that's not true. I was very much like in the middle, and I was trying both avenues. And
there's a famous quote that pops up on Twitter and in the blogosphere every now and then by a breastfeeding activist named Amy Spangler. Breastfeeding may not be the right choice for every mother, but it's the right choice for every baby. Considering breastfeeding caused my own child nothing but pain, this quote has always kind of bothered me. So I asked other women, both breastfeeders and formula feeders, what they thought about this sentiment.
It's lovely. It's a lovely quote there, but it's quite leading. So what they're really saying is, whether you like it or not, it's best for your baby. And again, there's the pressure. Pressure putting on the mom. So you may not like it, but it's the best for your baby, so just do it. And that's again, with the unnecessary stress that there's no need. It's hard enough being a parent. Don't need to add that stress of I'm not giving my baby the best, because we all struggle with societal pressures, and that's one that doesn't need to be put on a parent.
It's not the right choice for every mother, that's true. And you're the mother, so you have to make the best choices for your children. So ultimately, it's about your situation, and you have to make the decisions for you and your family. And I don't know, I guess.
It's not even true. There are kids that are starving because their moms don't know that supply issues are real, because they're told that they're not, and they just keep saying, no, I'm just gonna keep. And that's what I was starting to do. And if it wasn't for my husband saying like, no, really, I'm gonna give her, a little bit of formula or whatever you pumped or whatever, to while my milk came in, she might not have been getting enough, and she might have been losing weight as opposed to gaining weight. And then, as we've talked about, there are kids who have milk allergies to their own mother's milk, which is another thing that really happens. Right. And I've known several people who have said that, and you can't discount that and say, no, breast milk is still best for every baby when it's making them sick.
I think that for my baby, that would be a no. That would be a no. Breast milk did not make her comfortable. It just, I don't even want to know what it did to her insides to make her bleed. Considering
that it's the mother that takes care of the baby, and the mother's health has to be taken into account, maybe it's not an accurate statement. Maybe it's not the best choice for every baby, because if your mother is unhappy and stressed out and can't feed you, that's probably not good for you.
A common refrain among the women I've talked to is that until you've walked a mile in their shoes, you have no right to judge their choices. While it's vitally important that we normalize breastfeeding and provide strong resources for those who choose to nurse, we can't forget that it's a decision every mother can and should make for herself.
I think the most important thing a parent can do for their child is to do what it works best for them. If it's completely breastfeeding and no supplemental formula or whatever, or however you're going to supplement, then great. If you feel that you can't breastfeed or don't want to, formula feed. And whatever keeps you more calm and more sane as a parent, because the whole business is crazy, it's better for you and will be better for your child.
I think it's so a matter of luck, because our situations were so very similar. And how did, you know, I get right to the brink and then just it kind of ended up getting easy after a couple months, but for other people it doesn't, you know. And I just think that's why it's so scary to say, no, this is how it was for me, so surely this is how it will be for you. And I worked really hard at it, so if you work hard enough, it'll work out for you, because it isn't like that. It really opened my eyes to the fact that this isn't the only way to feed your child or love your child, and what you feed them isn't necessarily, you know, the be all and end all. If I have another child, I will nurse again, you know, if I can. I will try. Convenience and everything that, you know,
Set aside.
yeah, I mean, it was hard, and it will probably be hard again, but I enjoyed it, and there was a sense of pride in it, you know, that I felt. But having been through this very, very difficult year, I can honestly say that I don't judge people for choosing that for whatever reason, because it isn't for everyone.
I don't think the government has any right to tell you. I don't think your friends should tell you anything. I don't think your spouse should pressure you. I think it's a really personal, individual decision that generally involves you and your baby. And ultimately, your baby's health and happiness is dependent upon the mother's health and happiness.